Hello, trumpet players. Today in this video, I want to talk briefly about negative comments. So I was inspired, I guess, to do this video yesterday because I got like my third negative comment on my YouTube channel. And what struck me about this was that all this time I've been putting videos up here on YouTube and not getting the negative comments that I've been expecting. So now I have to give you some context here. If you've been following my stuff, then you know that my method was formulated, born, whatever you want to call it, in the mid-'80s, right? But part of the story that I don't often tell people is that if it wasn't for the '90s, when I had fights online with people, not necessarily trying to spread the word about my method. That's in the '90s. I was there to learn. What am I talking about? Internet forums. For example, there's the Trumpet Player International Network, TPIN. And I spent a lot of time on TPIN back in those days. And it wasn't that I was trying to propagate my method. I see that time as the refinement time when my method was put to the test, not because I was trying to push it on anybody, but because I was trying to reconcile what I was reading from other people and what I thought was right and wrong and what worked and what didn't work. And so when did this start? I think I started TPIN in '93. And I was on there for about 10 years, I think, doing a lot of contributing on that forum. And then there were other forums that came up that I contributed to, like Trumpet Herald. I did a little bit of that. But yes, there was conflict. And some of it was extremely heated. People became so angry with me. I told somebody just yesterday, because I had remembered this, some kind of halfway famous trumpet player told me that I was performing a disservice to the trumpet community by saying the stuff I was saying, right? And that he felt it was his moral obligation to stop me, right? And then I had someone who I consider a friend today, but back in those days, man, we clashed a lot. And he told me I had diarrhea of the keyboard. So, right? And here's the thing. When I got onto YouTube and started, now my YouTube time started off as just a way for me to share recordings for my students. But eventually I started adding these instructional videos. And I was expecting a lot more of this pushback. I guess people call it pushback today. I was expecting a lot more negative comments, a lot more. I think to this day, I only have 3 or 4 truly negative comments. I have over 1,000 videos and only 3 or 4 truly negative. In other words, um, like for example, the one that I got yesterday, his very first words were, "You should stop teaching." Right? Um, and here's the thing. I value these comments as much as I value the positive comments. And I mean that sincerely. I value the negative comments. I value the pushback. I value that that clashing of ideas, because without that my method won't grow. Without that my method, so if it wasn't for the 90s and all those fights I had online, I don't think the method would be today what it is. We have often these little bubbles that we live in, and it's easy for your method to just be in your head and have no meaning to anybody else but you. How do you break out of that? Especially for someone with my personality type. My personality type exists only in my head. My world is inside my head. I am not so stuff can happen around me and I'm not aware of it. And there are infamous examples of this unawareness in my life, right? Infamous, where things really went bad because I wasn't aware of what was going on, right? That's my personality. Things just happen inside my head. And if I don't have this clash, then the method is worthless to anybody outside of my head, right? So I need people to say, "Hey, that what you're saying, that's terrible. That's not good," right? Um, and in fact, I'm gonna go as far as to say, what's funny about this, right, is the negative comments I get, like the one yesterday, was on that video that I did about which scales to not practice. Now, let's pay attention here. Which scales to not practice? I don't think this guy actually watched the video, because at the end of it, he says, he's like, he's using emoticons, right? Don't practice scales, like as if I said in the video somewhere not to practice scales. The whole point of the video is to help you reduce redundancy. We want to practice the skills. My students, and me too, spend more time practicing scales than most people, most trumpet players. Let that sink in. My students spend more time practicing scales than most people. That's precisely why I put that video out. Because if you're already turned all the way up to 10 or 11, right? You're turned all the way up on your scales. Are you going to now add another scale that is exactly the same exercise as you practice for this scale? That makes no sense, and that's what that video was all about, was avoiding redundancy. I used the word redundancy in there. I wonder sometimes maybe people don't know what the word redundant means. And I know that sounds patronizing, but the truth is I do have a tendency to use words in my vocabulary that I think uplift people, but sometimes I get the negative effect of talking over people. That they tell you in the um, like if you're learning how to write blogs and you're learning how to do videos and stuff like that, they tell you to limit your vocabulary. I think that's ridiculous. I don't do that with my students. And so what I do with my students is I'll use the word redundant. Then I'll ask them, do you know what the word redundant means? And they'll say no. And I'll say, that's when you do the same thing over again. It's repetition. So when we talk about redundant skills, we're saying, well, you shouldn't be practicing the same exact skill twice, because that's a waste of time. And that's what that video was about, is not doing the same exact stuff twice. And that was true for the blues scale, that was true for the bebop scale, and it's true for all the modes. We don't waste our time on that stuff because we already covered it in the other skills that we're practicing, right? So this guy obviously didn't understand that. And so, and I'm only using him as an example of how that helps my method, right? Because, so a comment like that doesn't help it in a deep way, because clearly he misunderstood the video. Gives me the impression he didn't watch it or he didn't understand it, right? Because I did not say don't practice scales. Let's be clear about that. I did not say don't practice scales. I was only talking about redundancy. But obviously something I said didn't get communicated the way I wanted to communicate it. And so yes, that contributes to the method. Every time I have a student that doesn't get it, that helps me become a better teacher, because now, if I was like some other teachers I know, I would blame the student and not make any effort to make that connection. That's not how I teach. I teach every student as an individual. So when I when I encounter a student that doesn't get it the way I'm saying it, without dumbing down the language, without avoiding words like redundant, I will say it in a different way, and in a second different way, or a third different way, or a fourth different way, so that that student will get the light bulb to come on and say, oh, now I get what you're saying. And every time that happens, it makes my method better. It's a very, very important part of growing the method. A very important part. And so, so this is kind of funny, right? Because I want more negative comments. I don't want people to just be negative for the sake of being negative. But I enjoy hearing from people who don't agree with me. I enjoy hearing from people, and I kind of miss it, really. There's only 3 or 4 negative comments on my channel, and you know, that's not going to help me grow. I really, really expected a lot more than that. I really expected, because the reach on YouTube is so broad. Now maybe the algorithms have something in them that prevent people from connecting with people who are different. That's one thing I considered, right? Maybe the people who would leave negative comments, maybe the YouTube algorithm is somehow directing them in a different direction. I don't know. It's just bizarre to me, because in every other forum, I get pushback. I get people saying, hey, you know, that thing that you said, that's terrible. You should never teach that kind of stuff, you know? I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it's about. But yes, I expected a lot more. And for future purposes, when this stuff comes up in the future, um, I'm going to start sending people this video and say, hey, thank you so much for your negative comment. Here's a video for you to watch. Right? Because I actually appreciate that. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I ever come around to their way of thinking. There's several ways that negative comments will help. One is that it helps me find the right way to say stuff. That's the most common way that it helps. It helps me find the right way to say stuff. But there are sometimes it's more and more rare as I get older and as the method gets older. The method is old now, right? As I get older, it happens less, but there are times when people will say something and it reveals a flaw in the method. And I am not so committed to my own method that I am blind to any flaws. Now, but that's what I was saying. If you tell me there's a flaw, I'm not just going to assume that, yes, you're right, there is a flaw. I'm going to think about it. For example, this was not on YouTube, this was in an email. I had someone who bought my books. And he said, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great. And then he's noticed that there was no dynamics in the books at all. Talking about my routine books, the warm-up books, right? And I pointed out to him that in my method, we don't do dynamics during that part of your practice day. We do dynamics instead in your music. And I reminded him of the 50% rule, that more than 50% of your practice day should be spent practicing music, not exercises. And he wrote back, he says he doesn't have time for that, right? He doesn't have time. And you know what, when people say that, what they really mean is they really want to spend all of their time practicing exercises, right? Because there is the Chops Express book. If you practice 30 minutes a day, you can do the Chops Express book for the first 15 minutes, and then the exercises for the other 15 minutes. So there's no reason why someone should not have the time to practice music. But yes, that was a comment that I got, that where the guy was presenting what he thought was a flaw in the books and the method, and but it wasn't a flaw. That was by design. That's exactly how I want it to be. I don't want there to be dynamics in the music. Among other things as well, there's a bunch of stuff that's not in the music, in the routine. Because I want you to get the routine over with. That's the way the routine is designed. Get it over with. Move on to the music, and the music should give you everything you need. When you practice music, you're practicing all of it. You're practicing all of it. You're practicing getting a good sound. You're practicing phrasing. You're practicing articulation. You're practicing style. You're doing all of it. That is always far more valuable than some stupid exercises. And yes, I'm calling my exercises stupid exercises. Compared to practicing music, those exercises are stupid. I hope that makes sense. So yes, anyway, so this video is about negative comments. I like negative comments. I want negative comments because it helps the method grow. It helps. And you know what? When we say it that way, it sounds kind of clinical. Let me say it the way it really is. When I get negative comments, it helps me do a better job of helping you. That's the bottom line. And when I say you, I mean all of you. When I get negative comments, it helps me do a better job of helping the people that need my help. So yes, it's funny, but it's also very serious. I don't know, maybe other people don't think this is funny. I think it's funny. You know, we live in a society today where people are so terrified of the negative stuff. I'm like, you guys are a bunch of so, you know, why would you be afraid of that stuff? That's how you're going to grow. It's even biblical, right? In Proverbs, it talks about how the wise man welcomes correction. The wise man welcomes being told, hey, you're screwing up. You're doing it wrong. And I don't know about you, but I want to be wise. I don't want to be a fool. So yes, I actually value these negative comments. And anyway, I think I've said enough about this. Gonna put this video together real quick and publish it today because I didn't have anything to publish today. I've cut way back lately on these instructional videos. I'm gonna pick it back up again. I have a new plan. Always have a new plan. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this one. And God bless you, as always. And we'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching this video. I wanted to spend just a minute to let you know that there's a better, more convenient, more organized way to access all of these videos. We have literally hundreds of videos here on YouTube, and quite frankly, it's a bit of a mess. So, to make it a little bit more organized and easier for you to access what you want to access, I created a separate page, a separate area on my website. That's eddielewis.com. And if you go to eddielewis.com, click on the menu, click on videos. It will take you there. I have the videos categorized, and then within those categories, some of them, like the educational videos, you can click on it and go in there and look for the videos specifically that you're looking for. Okay? So go to eddielewis.com, EDDIELEWIS.com. Thank you very much.